You must have learned many things over childhood that turned out to be false, like the tooth fairy, dragons, and maybe even lizard shapeshifters that rule the world. But one fact that has strong scientific backing is that the Earth is round. Is this true? What if the Earth is flat? How does the flat Earth theory account for our experiences in the world? And what if you have believed a lie? Join us as we uncover the mystery of the flat Earth theory. Most pictures show the Earth in 2 dimensions, and people who believe the world is flat think that the world is a disc. In the center, you've got the Arctic Circle. Then you've got all the continents of the world sort of splayed out to fill the circle. And Antarctica is at the edge of the disc. Other people believe Antarctica is the ice around the edge. But instead of it being a discrete disc, some people believe, in fact, Antarctica just goes on forever in all directions. And so they believe that the Earth is actually an infinite plane in all directions. Therefore, it will continue in all directions, north, south, east, and west forever. There is also an above and a below, but there is no means to travel from one to the other because the ice extends indefinitely in all directions. Therefore, there is no means to travel below the Earth. Thus, the Flat Earth organization served as a place for them to present their arguments in support of various forms of this theory. At the time, there was also another rift in the movement between those on one side and others who sincerely thought the Earth was flat. The opposing side, however, enjoyed the intellectual challenge of supporting a stance that they knew to be wrong, despite having no reason to believe it. They would therefore look for rather obscure and absurd proofs that most people wouldn't consider. In the disk version, the world version, and the infinite plane version, for instance, neither model can adequately describe gravity because you lack a central mass here and a spherical mass. So there is no central point to pull everything to. In either of those concepts, gravity is incredibly challenging to explain, but those who were putting forward somewhat esoteric arguments questioned, well, what is gravity? Gravity is an accelerant, falls towards the ground at 9.8 meters per second squared, accelerates downwards. They said that is identical to a world in which the ground accelerates upwards to meet you. And so when you let go of something, it isn't that it's accelerating downwards, but the ground's actually accelerating up to meet it. It's a form of relativity, and this is exactly where they come to. So people then say, well, if the Earth is an infinite plane in all directions that bisects reality and is accelerating upwards at 9.8 meters per second squared, and always has been since the dawn of time, you'd hit a problem, which would be the speed of light. You can't go fast. The speed of light. So people don't have a gotcha for this. And so the people who are putting forth esoteric trollish arguments would say, well, look at Einstein's theory of relativity. As you approach light speed, time itself slows down and the maths in their head works back out again. Indeed, time is slowing down while we are speeding up, and this allows us to explain gravity. And it's hard to wrap your mind around that concept. Due to the complexity of their argument, some individuals were drawn to the movement by the fact that they were winning discussions, but others were turned off by the movement, especially by the manner in which they were winning people over. But then in 2015 and 2016, a couple of things happened that really ignited the modern flat Earth movement. It was the publishing of 2 videos on YouTube, or 2 video series on YouTube. It was Eric Dubay's 200 Proofs that the Earth is not a globe. They are definitely worth digging up because the Eric Dubay 200 Proofs were published 3 years after the infinite plane and the gravitational explanation provided by Einstein's theory of relativity. In other words, it was a period of time during which evolution and sophistication were expected to have occurred. First and foremost, the horizon appears to be flat. Second, the horizon appears flat no matter how high you climb. The third proof is that water cannot adhere to curved surfaces. It always levels off and is impossible to obtain. Thus, it is impossible for it to adhere to a ball. They are all therefore very, very basic arguments. The number of them is 200. Some of them stick with rather fictitious physical characteristics. Others go to a conspiracy theory. According to proof 199, Galileo, Neil Armstrong, and Isaac Newton were all Freemasons. Consequently, the Earth is flat. Therefore, they were collected and then made available as a free ebook that included a variety of distinct proofs of the world's flatness, chosen from a wide range of proof genres. As a result, online recommendations account for a large portion of how people find this information when they're perplexed. The American Academy of Sciences conducted this study at their most recent meeting, which was held there. The question, how did you get into the Flat Earth movement, was posed to attendees of a US Flat Earth convention by a scientist who attended with them. 39 of the 40 persons they questioned, stated they had seen it promoted to them on their reels. One commented, "My son saw it, told me about it, and sent it to me." You'd think this is weird, but it doesn't end there. The NASA conspiracy. The mantra of flat earthers is you can't trust visual evidence. They add, "You show me a picture of the Earth taken from space, I'll demonstrate a Photoshop composite project for you." And they'll claim that NASA itself has acknowledged that those 4 images are composites. Even so, they are composites made from images captured from space. They were just taken with a camera that was not placed far enough away to capture the entire planet at once. However, you will see photographs of the Earth which you will then combine to create a 2-dimensional depiction of a 3-dimensional object. For flat earthers, that is insufficient. What you will hear the majority of the time at a UK flat earth gathering in Birmingham with over 160 attendees is NASA's evil. The government, the Illuminati, and the New World Order all use NASA as a tool. They are dependent on their budgets. Therefore, they must continue to bring in money, which is why they continue to produce content that implies the world is round. Some folks even think NASA is a satanic tool. They have all kinds of absurd justifications for why that is. Some flat earthers believe the United Nations is a means for world governance. They even say the United Nations is Spanish for one, uno, when read backwards. But do they realize that UN is already French for one? Flat earthers say, look at the logo of the UN and you have the flat earth. You have the Arctic Circle in the middle. You have all the continents around it. And so let's say, why would the UN have the flat earth as their local? If it isn't true that the world is flat, then what is? We asked, okay, but then which countries are you not putting on? Do you want to show America and not Europe? Do you want to show the Northern Hemisphere and not show Australia? And so they said, well, okay, fine. So you show up from the top. But if that's the case, why isn't Antarctica on the UN's logo? It's missing. And his idea for that is because Antarctica is either the disk around the edge or it's where the dome that surrounds the world is. But Antarctica isn't a nation. This is the United Nations. Here's the grand conspiracy theory, but I must warn you, it's full of crazy assumptions. Why did the government kill JFK? It's because they knew that we couldn't get to the moon, so the moon landing had to be faked. Because you can't get past the firmament, because the world is flat and under a dome. So he said the flat earth is kind of the Rosetta Stone of conspiracy theories to a degree. It makes all the rest of it make sense, but does it? Recent news about the theory. The flat earther and YouTuber Bob Knodel spent a good sum of money trying to prove that the earth is flat. He bought a laser gyroscope and the results left him dumbfounded. The €18,000 experiment demonstrated the opposites of what his theory proposes. Knodel explained, what we found is that when we turned on that gyroscope, we discovered that we were picking up a drift of 15 degrees per hour. Now obviously we were surprised by that. Wow, that's a problem. Obviously we weren't willing to accept that, so we started looking for ways to disprove that it was actually recording the motion of the earth. If he had been more open-minded to the facts, he wouldn't be €18,000 poorer. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great videos like this. Stay tuned.